Hey everyone, Rick at Healing Field Farm. Today I wanted to talk about differences between dairy cows and dairy goats. So there is quite a bit of differences. I know a lot of people are accustomed to dairy milk, and maybe that's their first thought when it comes to running a homestead or a farm. But goats provide very high quality milk as well. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, the different purposes, and I'll get into that a little later too. So for starters, we'll talk about size. So an average cow is anywhere from 700 to 1,500 pounds, and you can't make a cow go where you want at that size all the time. Yes, it depends on temperament and how well they're handled. But goats average, um, you know, 40 all the way up to 300 pounds, and that's a pretty heavy goat, and that's not really a common thing in most people's homesteads. Um, Most of them kind of fall into a middle ground around 150, for a full size average goat. So much easier to handle, walk around, and everything else. Um, so a cow needs an acre per cow. So if you get two cows, you have to have 2 acres of land penned off for them to have enough to graze on. So this, if you're feeding grain, hay all the time, maybe alfalfa pellets, maybe you can get away with a little less. But on average, they need that acre per cow. Versus a goat, you can have 5 goats to that same acre. Okay. Um, they a cow will cost you anywhere from 700 all the way up to $3,000, and that's just to buy that animal. Most goats fall in between 150 and 300. They're on the higher end generally if they're registered, depending on the breed. Around here where I'm at, they kind of fall in between the 150 200 range. There are some places that I've seen them even more, like up to 455. Um, but that's not the price range I would be looking into. So unless you're going to show and they have a proven record, that's one thing. But that's not something I'm going to get into. So it generally costs about $1,200 a year just to feed a cow. That's $100 a month that you're putting away just to feed the cow. Where a goat costs $500 a year. That's less than half. So, and I'm mainly going off dairy production versus meat cow or meat goat. Um, you're spending this money and you're getting something out of it every day. So either way, milk, you're going to get gallons and gallons of milk out of a cow a day. Um, Whereas a goat, you'll get a gallon, you know, and that's what you'll use. If you can make cream, you get cream more from cows, so you can use it for butter and cheese and yogurt. So goats, you get a lot less cream, so you're not really going to get a lot of um, cream for the oh, excuse me, for the butter and the yogurt. But you could also use the goat milk more for creams and lotions and soaps as well as consumption, and you can still make cheese out of that. So um, the feed, so we talked about how much it would cost to raise them. So a cow needs a high quality pasture. So it can't just be, a backyard full of weeds or something like that. They need a well seeded, high protein grass to graze on. Whereas goats, they also need, high quality grass, but they'll also eat some weeds, they'll eat brush, they'll eat leaves. Um, Both animals will eat hay, but a cow will eat about a bale of hay a day versus a goat will eat a bale of hay in an entire week. So there's a huge cost right there, especially hay prices fluctuate a lot. some areas they're $5, $6 a bale. Other areas they're 10 and 12. So depending where you are and how the weather treated that season for the hay, if it caused shortages or anything like that. So that's a big difference. So fencing. So cows can be trained on just a simple electric fence. That's how we always raised ours. Every once in a while they'd break through, but it wasn't a very often occurrence. And they can be trained on portable fencing, so you can move them into different areas of your yard, so, or your field pasture. Goats, however, they can kind of be escape artists, and that just goes with their mentality. They're very playful, whereas a cow just kind of meanders through his field through the day, and or her field, and they're still personable, but they're not trying to jump up on you, or they're not running and headbutting and everything else. So, but goats will climb fences, so they do need a good solid fence, something they can't get through. It is a good idea to have, a strand of electric fence on top, maybe even the trail along the bottom, just to keep them deterred from trying to climb that fence. So and then it's really a big preference on what you're comfortable with. Are you comfortable milking a 12 to 3,000 pound cow every day, being under it and working those udders? They kick. If they're not enjoying being milked, it can be very unpleasant. Goats tend to be a little easier to train and grow more accustomed to being milked on a daily basis, to the point where they'll just get right up in their little area and they'll be ready to milk and ready to go. So they both have their good qualities. Personally, we're going to go with goats. We don't want to tie up as much land as it needs for one cow. So, we're probably going to end up with about 4 goats when everything's said and done. 3 females and a male. So, and then we won't tie up all that land for just one animal. So we did talk about maybe getting some mini cows, but even still, you're still talking a good 700 to 800 pound animal as a mini. And that's a lot of weight to push around if they're in the way. And I talk from experience. A full-grown cow goes where a full-grown cow wants to go, whether you want them to or not. So that's not always a pleasant situation. So, but just a quick recap: the land difference is about the same, but 5 goats versus 1 animal for the acre. The goats will eat a cup of grain a day. An adult will go through 2 to 4 pounds of hay a day, and a cow will eat up 100 pounds of feed a day. So there's a big cost difference there, huge. It costs $500 a year to raise a goat versus $1,200 for the cow. The milk, there is a lot of difference between cow milk and goat milk, and it really just depends what your uses are going to be, and how you want to use that milk. Goat milk is more digestible, so those people with trouble or lactose intolerant, maybe they'll have better luck on goat milk. So feed, they both need high quality feed, but cows mostly just graze. That they eat grass, where goats can clean out a wooded area for you of brush and leaves and everything else. And then they eat a bale of hay a week versus a bale of hay a day. So, and then you need good fencing either way, either animal. You have to have good fencing. But goats, you need something a little more sturdy, or something that they can't really climb through, get their heads through, or wiggle their way through. So most of the time, cows will respect their boundaries, if they're trained. So okay, so I hope this has been informative and helpful to anybody. Please give us a like and subscribe below, and thank you for your time. We'll talk soon.